Sunday, everyone. I don't know what was going on with my computer, but I was definitely, there we go, I was definitely having trouble getting everything to connect. So I'm a couple minutes late getting here, but you know, if you've been hanging out with me for any amount of time, you'll know that that's not terribly unusual. So we're going to have some fun today. We're going to make a couple of different things, and I have a surprise thing for you at the end. So you want to hang out till the end, and I will show you what I'm doing there. Simple. Yeah, you will love this, and it's something that you likely keep in your fridge all the time. Okay, so what are we doing today? We are working with canned tuna and canned salmon. You either love it or you hate it. I happen to love canned tuna. Now, I am just going to make sure that we are not going to be interrupted today. There we go. Okay, so I love canned tuna. I am not as much a fan of canned salmon. I don't mind it, but I don't love it. So we're going to do both of them in a way that I absolutely love. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you what we're doing. You want to see what we're doing today? Okay. Now, our first, you're getting a bonus today because we're going to do a couple of different recipes, and it's going to be ways that you can do canned tuna or canned salmon at home. Hopefully your kids are going to love it. Hopefully. Oh, and we'll just drop that right in the bowl. Okay, so this is a can of salmon. And we're just putting the entire can in here. Okay, so in the bowl it goes. And then, now I buy the salmon without bones in it. I gotta tell you, I know this is maybe a weird thing. I don't know, but it's a me thing. I cannot eat the bones in salmon. And yes, I know they're edible, and yes, yeah, I know all that. I don't care. So, it is just not something. Okay, there we are. It's not something that I am ever going to be able to eat. That's just all there is to it. So I buy salmon with no bones. You don't need to do that. And you're going to be mashing it up. So there's a very real possibility that you're not going to find the bones in it anywhere or anyway, but I very likely would. Now, this is going to be a seafood week. So today we're doing salmon and tuna, but we're doing seafood on a budget. Not everybody can go out and buy lobster and all of those kinds of things. So if you're hanging out with me and you're not a fan of seafood, stay tuned because I've got a surprise for you too. I also have an amazing fresh hot cup of coffee that is black. And today, because it is spring, and when it gets to be spring, I like sugar-free coconut syrup in my coffee. It just reminds me of spring. So, okay, we've got 1 can of tuna, and we have somewhere, what did I do with my cloth that I always have? Well, almost always, apparently not always, because today I didn't. There it is. Okay, in this can of salmon, we are going to add half an avocado. Now, I want to show you, I've shown you a few times how to cut an avocado. This time I want to show you how to tell if an avocado is ripe. The fact that it's a darker black instead of green, that is not the test. The test is, now let's see if you can see this. If you can push your finger in. Now, I'm doing this a lot harder than you need to, and you can see that indent. If you can do that just a little bit, then your avocado is ripe. Okay, now put a cloth in your hand. We do not want you cutting your hand. Nobody wants blood on their avocado, and I want you to be able to make this dish without having to go to the emergency room for surgery. Okay, so starting at the top of your avocado, we're just going to go all the way around with our knife. And I use a paring knife because these are not too terribly big. Oh, look at that. A little piece of skin and a little piece of avocado. Okay, now, once you've cut all the way around it, this is easy. Give it a twist. Poof, there you go, done. And this is beautiful. Now, you'll see we have one little spot here that is not quite as beautiful. And so we're just going to take that out. That's just a wee bit of a bruise or maybe a spot that just got a wee bit too cold. Now in this, I'm just going to put that in the compost. Okay, in this recipe, we are going to use half an avocado. So 1 can of salmon. Now this is enough. Are you looking for something for supper just for you? You can double, triple, quadruple this recipe. Do you have kids at home? Because this is an awesome recipe for kids, as long as they like salmon or tuna. Now, I'm using salmon in this because, okay, I keep sharing my little idiosyncrasies with you guys. I like tuna cold, unless it's fresh tuna and it's seared, and then that's a whole nother story. But canned tuna, I like cold. Canned salmon, I prefer hot. So we are doing a salmon melt because salmon needs to be hot, in my opinion. Okay, now you see I cut it this way, cut it this way. Now I have all kinds of little avocado blocks in there. Now this avocado is giving us amazing nutrition. It's giving us lots of healthy fat. Okay, now we're just going to set this aside for a minute, and that one is for a little bit later. And now we are going to, where on earth is my little masher? It was here. It was. I had it right here. And now it is not. So what the heck? Somebody has moved my masher, and since I am the only one in the kitchen, there is only one person that I can blame, and that person would be me, and I found it. So this is my little dude Mashy. Have you met Mashy before? He's adorable. I love those little guys. Now we're going to mash this up in the salmon, and this is kind of mixing it in with the salmon. You want your avocado to be ripe because it's important that you can mash it. The oil in the avocado is also going to act partly as a binder, and so salmon has lots of beautiful healthy fat in it. I'm not so sure. Okay, now let's just take a quick look at the can here. The can says that there is 1 gram of fat in half a can. So now they've taken all the good stuff out, all of the healthy fat that you get from salmon. Okay, so that's okay because we've added some in with our avocado. Now, as well as, we're just going to set this over here because we're going to need it again. Okay. Now, to this, we are going to add 1 ounce of chopped dill pickle. You can throw it in your food processor if you like. Good morning, Dell. Hi, Mom. I'm glad you guys are here. If you don't have a food processor and you don't want to chop it up, you can throw it in a blender. You can do whatever you like with it. But mince it as fine as you want it minced. This is going to give your salmon burger some zing. So you want that in there. Now, if you want to do, salmon melt. If you want to do salmon burgers, same recipe, just add 1 egg to it. Okay, now, to this, we are also going to add about 14 grams of onion. Now, I have a mix this morning of white onion and green onion, and we're just going to put about 14 grams in there. You don't need lots and lots. The flavor of the salmon is beautiful, so you don't need to be adding a whole bunch. And then we are going to add 28 grams of sour cream. Why are you using sour cream? Everybody knows that you use mayonnaise. Well, that's true. You can use mayonnaise or cream cheese or sour cream. You choose. And this morning, I choose sour cream. But your kitchen, you do you. Now, the sour cream that I'm using, we've talked about this before, I know. either Bleswold Dairies or Gailey. Those are the only two sour creams in this area, at least, that you can get with 18% milk fat, and they don't have cornstarch in them. Okay, now on top of that, we're just going to add a little bit of salt. You don't need to add lots and lots because we're going to be doing something else on top of here. And then a little bit of TSL Organics pepper, which I should have had in another little pinch bowl, but I don't, so we'll do that now. Now, if you have ever seen me eat tuna, you will know that I do love my pepper on tuna. Now, when you are looking for any kind of tuna melt or a salmon melt, oftentimes what you'll find is they put the tuna or the salmon on a slice of tomato. Now, if you want to do that, you can absolutely do that. Now, I'm just adding a wee little bit of black pepper in here. You can use black pepper, white pepper, no pepper, your choice. So a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, just to help bring that beautiful avocado and salmon flavor out. And then we're going to, in our pan, okay, so if you're eating this as a meal, we have 1 can of salmon, we have half an avocado. This is a meal for 1, meal for 2. Do you have some romaine lettuce or iceberg lettuce? You can make this longer and thinner and put it in make it a lettuce wrap if you like. Okay, so I am going to divide this into 2 patties. Now, just before I do that, I'm going to grab my avocado. Avocado? Nah, we'll do coconut oil. Now, this is a non-stick pan, so it doesn't really need this, but I'm just being better safe than sorry. Now, this is not a fried burger that needs to be browned. This is a salmon melt. And what makes it a melt is all of the amazing cheese that we're going to put on it. Now, salmon, sometimes you can get a really good sale on salmon. Other times, not so much. If you can't get salmon, do tuna. You can do this with either or. Okay, now we're going to make these into 2 patties. Leave the outside edges just a little bit thicker, kind of like you would a pizza crust, because that's going to help hold our cheese in. And life is always better with cheese. Okay, now we are going to take our bowl and get it out of the way is what we're going to do. Okay. Now we are going to add 28 grams of cheddar, Mexican, whatever kind of grated cheese you've got, and then another 28 grams, or about a 1/4 cup of mozzarella cheese. I will take every crumb of cheese out of here because I don't ever waste cheese. Okay, now we are going to mix this cheese up, and we are going to put it on top of our patties that have just a wee little lip on the end. And if the cheese falls off, don't worry about it, because we can always scrape it off the pan. And we're just going to put half of this on each patty. Now, I don't know about you, but there is no possible way that I would be able to eat all of this for a meal. And I most absolutely have some spilled on the edge. Okay, now, under the broiler for 5 to 7 minutes. So we're going to start with 5. Oh, here we go. Almost got the broiler turned on. There we go. Now it's on. It's not hot because I did not hit the last button. So onwards and upwards. Alexa, set a 7-minute broiler timer.
Broiler timer, 7 minutes.
Okay, so
starting now.
I set it for 7 minutes because it's not hot yet. So we're going to give it that extra couple of minutes to heat up. Okay, onwards and upwards.
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
Well, what do you know about that? Okay, so next up is tuna. What are we doing
This
with
might
the
answer your question.
Alexa, stop. You know, having her in the kitchen is awesome, but every now and again she tries to take over the show. Okay, did you see how I just did? You did not. The pit in the avocado. Give it a little whack with your knife, which I should have been holding with a claw. A whack, twist, and it pops right out if your avocado is ripe. And now we're just going to do the same thing. And that knife, I don't know if you saw that. The knife slipped right out. Would have gotten my finger. So, set it on your cutting board. Set it on your counter. Well, maybe not on your counter, unless you want it all scarred up. And your counter is too hard for your knife anyway. You don't want to break your knife. Okay, we're going to do it that way, and we're going to do it this way. This is a beautiful ripe avocado. This is taking the place, to a degree, of mayo. You can make avocado mayo, so why not use it instead of mayo? Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that since we're done with the knife. Now, I don't want the peel in here. You know, one of the things that I love about avocados is that they come in their own bowl, so you can, okay, now look at this. You see the dark spot on the inside? So this avocado has been bumped. All it takes for an avocado to start to develop a bruise is for them to be leaning against each other. They are such amazingly delicate little fruits that when you want your avocados to ripen, two things are true. Take them out of your fridge. They're going to ripen a lot better if you set them on your counter. And save your drink trays from, if you're going through a drive-through to get a black coffee so that you can put sugar-free syrup in it if you aren't drinking it black, or tea, whatever it is, or get a friend to save a drink tray for you. Set your avocados in the drink tray, and they will love you for it. You will have much nicer avocados. Okay, now, I know there's a little bit of salmon on here. I'll deal with it. The tuna's going to make up for it, so it'll be fine. So we're going to mash up our avocado again. We could have put the tuna in first, but we did not. Okay, mash and mash and mash. That's how come they call this, and I'm not even kidding you. This little guy is called Mashy when you buy him in the store. And I'm really sad that the company that made these guys stopped making them, because there's a couple of pieces in the set that I would still love to get, but they don't make it anymore, so. Okay, there we go. That's me making noise. Okay, we're going to set this over here because we are done with Mashy for the moment. Now, this tuna that I'm going to put in here is not drained. Oh my goodness, what on earth is she doing? I am going to show you an old trick. Now, you can drain the tuna if you want. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to show you an old trick that we used for the kids, and I know other people that have used it for kids, to make a can of tuna go twice as far. And here's the trick. Now, I know that you guys just got right busy after we were done on Friday, and you went and made some of the bread that we made together. Take half of one of the pieces, or a whole one, depends on how far you want it to go. If you break it up in little bits in the tuna, or I used to do it with crackers, you can do it with whatever you want. But this is just going to be a meal for me. Now, what happens is you get this in here, and you have, we're going to do the whole thing. I don't need to eat it all at once, and I'm going to be having the salmon anyway. You break it up. When you mix it in, the flavor of the tuna, the flavor of the avocado, the flavor of the sour cream, the flavor of the onions, the flavor of the pickles, all of those things mix in there, and you don't taste the bread. So that is an awesome way. So we have one little can of tuna, and we mix it up, and the bread soaks up the juice in the tuna. Always make sure that the tuna that you're buying is packed in water, because when it's packed in oil, it's not usually good oil. Okay, now there is that. And I'm spilling stuff on the counter. But look at how much liquid there is not. Now again, instead of using mayonnaise, today I'm going to use 28 grams of sour cream. You can use 28, no, not 28, 56. 56 grams of sour cream. And the reason that we've got more sour cream going on in here is because we want enough sour cream for the tuna and for the bread that we put in. Now we're also going to add another 14 grams of onions. You don't need lots. Onions have lots of flavor, and if you make this, put it in your fridge, then that flavor is going to have time to mingle, and it's always way better if you put tuna in the fridge. I remember when I was a kid, now this was back in the day when people weren't quite as worried about putting ice packs in their kids' lunch, but sometimes we would get tuna sandwiches for lunch, and my mom would make them in the morning, and it didn't get eaten until afternoon, and none of us died. Go figure. No ice pack in my lunch bag, and it was a paper lunch bag. At any rate, the longer that tuna sandwich sat, the better it tasted. So, if you haven't done that, do that. Just get it mixed up, do it in the morning, put a lid on it, throw it in the fridge. Okay, now, tuna is fairly salty, but we're going to add just a wee bit of salt, and we are going to add pepper. Now, I will tell you, when I make a tuna sandwich, now, Alexa, stop. Now, just let me check and see what our patty melts are looking like. Oh, not yet. Okay, Alexa, set a 3-minute patty melt timer.
Patty melt timer, 3 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so now she's listening to us. So don't talk about her because she can hear you. Okay, so if you are looking for something yummy, I'm going to show you. My family makes fun of me for doing this, and that's okay. They are entitled to their opinion. When I make a tuna sandwich, and I did not grab a plate again. There we go. Now, if you want it to be a sandwich, you can absolutely cut this. Now, these buns I know are thin, but you can still cut them. Okay, so this is what my sandwich looks like. And I am not even kidding you, and you can make fun of me if you want, but I put the tuna on the sandwich. That is yummy. And then I add pepper. Yes, I know, you don't have to eat it. And, you know, interestingly, my kids don't do this. My grandma did this. My grandma used to do this all the time, with tomatoes especially. If you could see the tomato or the tuna fish after she was done putting pepper on it, she wasn't done yet. Yeah, you might have thought she was done, but she wasn't. Okay, now, lid on top of this, and we are going to set that aside for a little bit later. Maybe we'll try a bite a little bit later. Now, let's clean up the mess that I made, because we are at the bottom of the hour, and I promised you guys a surprise. So, while those patty melts are still doing the patty melt thing in the oven, I want to show you something. This is such an awesome thing to do. Now, I got about 1 pound of wings out of my freezer this morning. So they're starting to defrost a little bit. So I'm going to put them in the fridge to defrost, and you need to come and hang out here with me on Wednesday, because on Wednesday we are going to do chicken wings. And I'll tell you what, into this bag I have 1 cup of dill pickle juice, and I am going to add as much as I can get in this bag. There we go. What on earth is she doing? I'm brining this in dill pickle juice, and we are going to make amazing dill pickle wings on Wednesday, so you don't want to miss that. Now, what am I doing with these wings? This whole bag with the dill pickle juice is going in my fridge. They're going to finish defrosting. Alexa, stop. And we are going to finish these dill pickle wings on Wednesday, and we're going to talk about brining. How do you do it, and why on earth would you want to? Okay, so these are still frozen, so I'm just going to set them here for a moment. We're going to check our patty melts and see how they're doing. Okay, well, they are melting, but they are definitely not done yet. But I'm going to show you. Okay, this is where we are so far. Now, I'm going to pop these back in the oven. I'm going to let them finish. They're hot, but I want this cheese crispy, crunchy. Should we take a quick taste first? I think maybe we should. Okay, let's just do a wee little taste and see if we did things right. I'm going to get some of these crunchy bits of cheese on my bite of patty melt. Now, nothing that we added in here needs to be cooked, so you can eat this raw. So your kids don't want their tuna hot? Sprinkle the cheese on it, put it on a plate, give it to them raw. You can put it on a sandwich. That is yummy. That is going to be delicious for supper. Alexa, set a 3-minute salmon timer.
3 minutes. Starting now.
Well, apparently I didn't talk fast enough, which seems to be a problem. Okay, now we have the tuna.
Thanks for letting me know.
We have the tuna sandwich. Should we try a bite of this?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Alexa, stop. Okay, now here, is our tuna sandwich. Wait a minute. There we go. Here is our tuna sandwich, and it's kind of probably a party because we don't have melted crispy cheese holding it together. But there is our tuna sandwich. And even though we didn't drain any of the juice out, and we added bread to it, it tastes exactly like tuna should taste. So if you're wanting a can of tuna to go further for your kids, or for yourself, just add a slice of keto bread to it. It is going to add a little bit of carbs to it, so just figure out how much of your keto bread you've put in there, but this is going to be a super low carb meal. Now you can definitely put that in a sandwich, or you can eat it off a spoon. Needs pepper. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm so glad that you're here. Now, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, send me a comment. Let me know, do you like tuna? Do you like salmon? Join me on Wednesday. Now, I did tell you that this was going to be a seafood week, and then I showed you chicken wings, but we are going to do something on Wednesday with smoked oysters. Now, these have always been one of my favorites, and we're going to talk about smoked oysters on Wednesday, and hopefully you're going to love it. So if you have a smoked oyster story or recipe that you want ketoed, send it to me, and we're going to have some fun with that. Do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. That's what I'm going to do. So I am now going to go and do all of these dishes that we've just created. Thank you again for joining me, and have an amazing Sunday. Until I see you 10 a.m. Wednesday